Andy Fisk, Bureau Director for Land and Water Quality at DEP. Veronica is distributing an amendment that we've been working on for a little while. It's an amendment that replaces the bill. And my apologies, it is 8 pages long, but I think I can give you a digest of where we're at. I would say first that not all of the interested parties, yourselves included, have had ample opportunity to review all this, and there is a lot of material here. So I am presenting to you language that I have worked on with some of the interested parties, but not everyone has had a chance to really digest this. I have given it to a number of representatives and people that testified at the hearing this morning or last night. So let me talk about what has been added to the bill. The conversation, the department's testimony on Representative Sardi and Representative Schott's bill said in effect we don't support those bills. However, we think that there is an opportunity to better specify the state and municipal partnership and regulation of groundwater. So the vast majority of the verbiage in here attempts to create a framework for the delegation of authority to a municipality to regulate a significant groundwater well. We're proposing that for two reasons. One is substantive and the other is procedural. Procedurally, I think that it is important to be able to have one governing body issue a permit for a significant groundwater well. Right now in the town of Denmark or the town of Shapley or other places, the town is issuing a permit as well as the state. I think one or the other of us can do this with regard to groundwater quality and quantity. I think that makes sense. That's the procedural justification. Substantively, you'll recall that there has been a lot of testimony about the home rule authority of towns. A number of people testified to that end and said either reinforce the existing home rule authority, specify it in different ways. What we have done here is, frankly, being looked at by Maine Municipal with appropriate levels of caution. Because I think you can certainly say there is home rule authority for towns to issue ordinances on groundwater quality and quantity. We don't disagree at all. What we would like to do, though, is create a process that formally delegates authority for significant groundwater well regulation to a town. And I'm talking about just the hydrology, groundwater, surface water permitting. I'm not talking about land use. I'm not talking about trucking or anything else. That is within the town's existing authorities, and DEP is not getting involved in that.
Can I jump in there and ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
The authority that's being delegated is authority under site law, NERPA, or?
It is under the Natural Resources Protection Act.
Great.
And currently, the way the Natural Resources Protection Act is built, it envisions delegation. There is a delegation section in the law already. No town has taken delegation, but they could come to us and say, we want to issue town permits for vernal pools or high mountain areas or inland wading and wildlife habitat, in which case the state wouldn't issue the permit. It's just the town doing it. So what I have done in conversations with Representative Sardi and Kingman Pratt, who was the town attorney from Denmark who testified on Representative Sardi's bill, I've had several meetings with them to propose language along the lines of give us authority to do this. You'll recall that the town of Denmark based their authority on an obscure section of state law that principally was driven by surface water and source water protection. And as Mr. Pratt noted, we squinted, or the town of Denmark squinted in developing this, this ordinance. So what this does is procedurally two things. Towns are interested in being able to effectively turn on a dime. You heard the testimony that said if a large water extractor comes to town, towns are interested in being able to seize the field and be in control. What this does is first say that a select board can enact an ordinance effectively immediately to regulate groundwater while they go through the process of delegation. Denmark had said that was very important to them. They actually used that obscure piece of law to have the select board enact an ordinance that was then later approved by full town meeting. We have preserved that act on a dime authority, or codified that act on a dime authority in the provisions of law here. The next part of the broad concepts, and I can walk you through the details, provides that when a town demonstrates to DEP that we have an ordinance that regulates groundwater within the approval criteria of NRPA, and again, what NRPA does is it protects for the groundwater, it protects the surface water, it protects existing uses, and it requires you to consider all the cumulative withdrawals within that aquifer. So a town comes forward with this ordinance, they demonstrate that they have the technical capacity, and the way towns are going to do that is hiring hydrologic expertise. They're going to have a consultant in their stable that's going to provide them that technical expertise to administer their ordinance. They are then granted authority to administer their ordinance. We then say, your permit needs to do the following things. So when you're granted authority, your permit needs to make findings on the standards and law, and it needs to be built in the following way. It needs to have a limit on withdrawal, it needs to have monitoring requirements, and it needs to have what you could call in the shorthand action or alert levels, meaning the permit has to have a number in it that says if withdrawal gets to this number, there may be more monitoring or more look-see required on that well. And further, if you hit this number, you either have to turn back or stop. That effectively is how Denmark's ordinance works now and the way the state writes its permits. So we think that this refines and provides an appropriate process for towns to deal with local ordinances. Would it be helpful if I spent a little bit of time walking through the language of the bill, or do you want to talk concept first? I could do it either way.
Let's talk concept. Oh no, big picture versus...
Our Myers.
Well, why don't we walk through the bill and then hear the big picture?
As we go? You're making me do both?
No, well, do sort of a big picture kind of view and then walk through it. So I think people need an outline. Sort of.
Sure. Okay, if you're looking at the amendment, and again, this replaces the whole bill. When you look at Section 1, you're in Title 30A. So this language here specifies within the municipal law that a town needs to be delegated authority to do significant groundwater well permitting. A concept in Section 1 that we want to preserve is that if a town elects not to be delegated, we have provided them pride of place in our permit. They essentially have intervenor status in the state's permit. So if the town says, look, we don't want to go through the ordinances, we're interested, but we're not going to go that route, we have given them pride of place within the state permitting authority. If you turn to page 2, also within Section 1 of the bill, it is in paragraph E at the top of the page 2 there. One of the important concepts was, as you can imagine, a town that is not used to dealing with this type of activity may not have the resources to deal with it. So this language here provides that special fees can be applied to the permit so that the town can afford to have technical expertise in their employ. This is a concept that's very familiar to state law, and it's been used in many municipal ordinances. In paragraph F, another broad sweep here is that we're not dealing with other authorities here. Again, truck traffic is very important in the discussion on these significant groundwater well facilities. We're not saying you can't do that, and it does not also limit an impact fee. If a town decides that they do need an impact fee as a result of this project, we're not limiting that by any stretch. Item 4 in paragraph F, this has been one of the questions. An NRPA permit lasts forever. It's not termed out. Municipal permits have had times associated with them. This says that you need to, at a municipal permit, have to have nothing shorter than a 5-year term on a permit. But you can have a term if you so choose as the town. Section 2 I will skip over